Hi there, it's Wendy Hernandez, attorney and creator of Command the Courtroom. So let's get back to that interview I had with a client of mine, Mr. Carlos, who was able to get equal time with his children. And he's such a wise person, a wise client, a wise father. I really am excited that I can share his words of wisdom with you. Coming from somebody like him who's been through the trenches, who's been through the fight, been through years of battling, I thought it might be inspirational. So in this video, he's going to talk a little bit about forgiveness. I hope you enjoy it.
So, I want to, you talking about the relationship with your ex, and it makes me want to ask you about two different things. So one thing, and you can take them in whatever order you want, is this idea of forgiveness, which you've already talked about with your own parents, because, I've had clients and I hear stories every day about people who have exes who have done some really horrific things or pulled some really big tricks, in the past, made some false accusations, maybe had people arrested, had police called out, orders of protection, allegations of domestic violence, so question one is, how do you forgive that? Is it necessary to forgive it, in your opinion, to be, an effective co-parent? And two, how do you respond when you are being attacked, either verbally, in person, especially in front of the kids, or in writing via email or text?
The first one, I think, is probably the most important out of the two. I think forgiveness, regardless of what's gone on, whether, the police were called, whatever ugliness, in my case, I have stated this many times, I was not a good husband. And a lot of those were indicative of how broken of a person I was. And I'm by no means excusing any of the things that I did in my relationship, but I do know that you have to truly forgive yourself, number one. You can't forgive anybody unless you forgive yourself. And if you're hung up on hanging out with your friends, drinking or whatever, or negative friends that are telling you you're better off without this and the other, and you're not really taking the time to get to the bottom of how you got there, you'll go in the same circle again. You're not going to get out of it. Two, that the second part of that is what the other person did to you. And I think most people need to realize, in my experience, is that a lot of things are done out of emotion. Emotion drives us all. One thing I like to think about that I learned, just me personally in church, is what someone said to me is and I took it this way, if you let the other party say and do things, whether they were in the past, calling the police, whatnot, if you allow them to make you angry and you get angry, you're allowing your feet to come off the ground, because now you no longer have control and your feet aren't on the ground. And you're allowing them to dictate how you go about your day, because now they just made you mad, and you're so mad that now you're out of control. And if you don't get that under control, then you won't be able to accomplish anything in the day. So I think you have to remember that. You have to think about everybody makes mistakes. We are not the first people that have been exposed to divorce, kids, things. And what I have done is, by miracle or by fate, I run into adult kids of divorced parents, and my daughter either plays sports on their teams or whatnot. And somehow that person, the older kids or the kids of the parents, always end up gravitating towards me. And somehow I ask a question or I say something. And what I find out is that they admire the parent who is more of an adult regardless of the situation. And if you were the one who cheated or got cheated on, it really doesn't matter to the kids. It's how you treat their mom or their dad. That is what I'm realizing makes my daughter more comfortable and flourish. And so now I support that a lot. If they're doing something, you got to get behind it, regardless. And it might, want you to break your teeth off inside because you're just so angry about well, I paid for that. And this, it's really irrelevant. It isn't, because you need to don't lose focus. It's about the kids, and you got to let that go. And you're not going to get your day in court every day, so to speak. It's going to be my way, because it's not going to work out that way. And response to being attacked. I've taken a couple of courses that were preferred for me to take, and a lot of stuff that I learned in counseling too. And the biggest thing is like you can either respond to someone's attacks to you, or you can choose to say something very calmly that like ends the conversation, like, hey, I'm not talking to you like that, and I know I may have done whatever, but I don't think that I deserve that type of talk, especially in front of our kids. I said, because you're undermining me and I wouldn't do that to you. And I think that's the best way to maintain. It doesn't matter. I know I hear it all the time. I know my wife sometimes sometimes she's like, wow, like taking the high road is hard. And it is tough. But let me tell you, like, your compensation for doing that, and all the people that I've spoken to, which are kids of divorce, is the kids are watching you like all the time, and they feel it. Not only do they have to watch it, they hear it and they feel it. So if you're like being genuine, like in my case, like I tell my daughter, like, I genuinely now get excited for her. If her and her mom are going to do something, or they did something, or whatever, I tell her, like, that's really good. I go, make sure you keep it up, or whatever. And she's good with that, because if you're sitting there bent on being mad, your daughter or your son is going to pick up on it. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, guess what? It takes a lot of energy for you to let that person, you're letting your ex back in your house by allowing that person to like engage you and get you that mad. And then you walk over to your significant other. And then if you're that angry, well, now you're taking it out on them. And now they're really in your house. And I think that's something that I learned in counseling and with my wife, is like sometimes we, whatever problems we have, they just leave them there with the ex, and make sure that those don't come into your house, because those are boundaries, and you need to have boundaries too in order to have a good relationship.
Okay.
So I hope you liked this little snippet of my interview with Carlos, and that he gave you some little tidbits that might help you in your case. In the next video, we're going to be talking about, let me look at my notes here, your kids not being able to enjoy the time with the other parent and or you because of certain reasons, and he's going to give his thoughts on that. So until next video, remember to keep on trucking and command the courtroom.